Hello, this is Heather Hoffman, and I'm here today to share a fun two different ways to do kind of a letterboard technique using your large sentiment dies. I'm using Happy Easter, and I'm also using the all framed up confetti cuts, kind of to create two different size frames for my two different styles of my letterboards. You can mix and match any color combo on this. I thought a bright yellow would be kind of a fun unique color to use for it. So for this I'm using Sunshine cardstock, and this is just kind of a scrap of cardstock I had in my stash. And for this first style I'm using a scoreboard, and I'm marking it at 1/4 inch intervals. You can pick any interval. There's a lot of variation in this. Since this is a smaller one, I went with more frequent ones, and the 1/4 was easy to follow. I debated on doing a 1/2 inch as well, but I ended up going with the 1/4. And then you can see I'm going to use my smaller frame on this, so I just need to trim that panel down. I waited because I wasn't sure if the scoring would shrink the size of that panel just ever so slightly, so I figured it would be easier just to score a larger panel and then trim it down, which is what I did here. So now that I've got that all trimmed down, I'm just going to adhere that frame over the top using any adhesive. I'm using liquid glue just because it's nice and easy to slide it into place and adhere it there, and then cleaning the little extra off of my work surface. And now I'm going to move on to the second style, and for this I've cut that same Sunshine cardstock into 1/2 inch strips. This is a panel a little larger than my top folding card base there. And I'm adding a good layer of adhesive tape just kind of over the entire card. You can see that my strips are a little wider than my card base. I did this on purpose so that I could just kind of focus on getting them lined up and straight across, but not have to make sure I had it perfectly straight all the way across. And with my adhesive tape already on there, I'm just sticking each strip on one at a time, making sure that they're bumped up and touching, and then I can turn it over to the reverse side and just trim off the extra that way. You could use a paper trimmer as well. I just found large scissors were nice and quick and easy on that. And then I'm going to use my larger frame, and you might notice it's kind of perfectly sized, but I wanted to trim ever so small of a little bit off of just the bottom and one side, just to make sure that that frame didn't have any I didn't have to worry so much about lining it up to get it to perfectly frame that. I wanted it just ever so slightly smaller than that frame for this one. All right, those frames were both cut from Stormy cardstock, and I love how that confetti cuts out various sizes, so you get a bunch of frames just with one pass of your die cut machine. All right, now I'm going to adhere that other variety of my letterboard style with some foam adhesive onto another white top folding card base. These are both horizontal to fit my sentiments on there. And there you can see how the Happy Easter is going to fit on there. Instead of just adhering one, I die cut several of that Happy Easter. This way I can adhere a couple layers together and kind of get a thick dimensional, a little more of a dimensional adhesive. So it's going to make it more of a thick, solid sentiment. I did these with the Happy Easter just because of the time of year it is, and I thought Easter cards would be fun to do this way. But any large word sentiment dies, or if you have letter sentiments and want to build your own custom, this is kind of a fun technique. Just building the letterboard gives a little bit of just a clean and simple way to display your large sentiment like that. All right, so I did that with both of those and adhered them straight onto my card base there. You can see how that is a nice thick dimensional. It just kind of makes those words pop out at you just a little bit more without foam adhesive needed or anything like that. All right, as a final finishing touch, I grabbed a sentiment to stamp on the inside of these. It's not something I always do, but it's kind of fun to add a sentiment on the inside of your cards. Just kind of a nice finishing touch. I'm using the Perfect Timing stamp set, which is another new release along with the Happy Easter confetti cut. And I'm going to stamp it with Stormy Dye ink instead of black. That way it's going to kind of coordinate with that color on the front once it dries on there. And by lining that sentiment up on my Misty, I can quickly stamp both of them and just know that I have them perfectly placed, and it makes it super quick and easy. All right, there you go. Super fun, easy technique to create your own letterboard style. Can't wait to see what colors you choose to try and test out this technique and which sentiments. Thanks so much for coming by today. Have a wonderful day.